It's July 16th, 2026. We're going to call this meeting to order. Do we have any announcements?
I do not.
Any comments from the public? All right, let's jump in. We have, we need to approve our meeting minutes for June 18th. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion, we approve the meeting minutes from June 18th.
And I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, meeting minutes from June 18th, 2026 are approved. I think everybody's had a chance to sign the claims. Do we have a motion for approval of July claims?
I'll make a motion to approve the July claims.
Second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. July claims are approved. Chip, do you want to talk about Human Resources report?
There's really nothing exciting on there, it's just normal stuff, so.
All right, do we have a motion for approval?
I would make a motion to approve.
A second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
The Human Resources report is approved. Let's jump into new business. We have been talking about the Shepherd's Hook policy here for probably the last two meetings. I think the last meeting, we came to some sort of agreement as to what the language should be and how everybody felt about it. Has everybody had a chance to read the Shepherd's Hook policy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did
we
you guys
have-
see it? Did you?
Do we have it in hard copy?
Here's a copy of it if you want to. Uh-huh.
All right, do we have anybody, any discussion that board members want to engage in about the policy? We'll give them a couple minutes to look at it.
Based upon our last meeting, it did take into account the request for being able to decorate the pole, but not to go above the height of the pole and things on top. So I think, based upon your guys's and the other comments from the other family, it looks like we took all that into consideration.
You guys feeling okay about it? Okay, let's go ahead and, do we have a motion for approval of the Green Lawn Cemetery policy for Shepherd's Hooks?
I make a motion to approve it.
Second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have a new policy for the Green Lawn Cemetery Shepherd's Hooks. All right, moving on to Scott Park and the Franklin Family Aquatic Center. We've got a few things to do on this issue tonight. I think we have some folks in the audience who are ready to talk to us about this and present some information. If folks, if you were interested in the Shepherd's Hook policy and you don't want to stay for the whole park board meeting, don't feel like you have to stay. We would love to have you. Andy, do you want to begin, or Max, are you going to begin?
I'll begin.
Okay.
So, we're gonna take a trip back in time, all the way back to about 2008. And take a look at what the athletic facilities looked like in Franklin way back then. If you recall, obviously 2008 is a milestone for the city because we went through a huge major flood. And it also destroyed a lot of athletic facilities in the community during that flood. If you recall, there used to be a softball diamond down in Province Park. And if anybody remembers, I know at least the mayor would remember because we lived it, there were cars on top of the softball facility down there that actually floated from the police station. It also destroyed another softball diamond inside of Province Park as well. There was also some damage that time at Scott Park. Obviously, we had the biggest flood we've ever had in the city. So we had to make some decisions way back then when we were going through the FEMA process of what we were going to do with all these athletic facilities. And what we decided to do at the time was to invest all of our money into Scott Park at the time and not put them back at what was their current locations. That was several years ago. So now we are in 2026. Obviously, the city has grown since then. There are way more people in the community than there used to be back then. And the current Scott Park has simply just, we've outgrown it, for one. It also has not had a major improvement at Scott Park since 2009, the year after the flood. Which brings us to about 2011 or 12, we started to go through the process of looking about, I'm trying to tell you the history because this isn't a project that just came up in the last 6 months. This has been several years in the making. We actually looked at this property that we're going to talk about today back in 2011 and 12, in that time range, to figure out if we could actually expand Scott Park at the time. It was owned by a private developer at the time. We had had some discussions with them about possibly leasing the property. Those talks really didn't go a whole lot. It didn't really go anywhere. It was owned by Sid Eskenazi. You probably know that name by Eskenazi Hospital in in Indianapolis. That was who owned this property. Rock and I actually went and met with them in Indianapolis a couple times. Bring us back to about a year or two ago, thanks to the mayor. This is one of his. It's always been one of his priorities since he took over. 10 years. Has it been 10 or 11 years ago? So even 10 or 11 years ago, we were talking about how can we make this thing work. About a year or two ago, the mayor said, all right, it's been long enough. Let's figure out how to get this project done. He did the negotiations with Sandor Realty, which is owned by the Eskenazis. He gets the credit for actually securing the property because we had went through a lot of processes to try to get it. He said, finally, let's just go get it. And we did. The Redevelopment Commission bought the property about, 18 months ago now, maybe. And so for the last 18 months, we've really been in some discussions about what can we do with the property, what is feasible out there. In that time, we hired Crossroad Engineers. Charlie is here today with Crossroad. He's going to, if you have any questions after I talk, he'd be more than happy to tell you all the detailed technical stuff. There's some challenges with the property. It had to, obviously there is a ditch that runs through it, so it separates two sides of the property. We currently use the south side as what we know as Scott Park. The upside, the north side of it, is about 35 acres. The bottom half is about 5, so it gives you an idea. If you go out to Scott Park and you look what 5 acres looks like, well, it's 7 times bigger on the other side, if that helps you. It also includes the pond, which we'll talk about as we go through this process. So we did buy all of that property. Crossroads was brought on board, and we've spent the last year probably, because I looked at my calendar, we met in about July of last year for the first time about what some potential concept plans could look like for this facility. In that year, we have come up with what you see. And by the way, I have hard copies. If anybody in the audience wants to have a hard copy in your hand, I have some, if anybody wants to see them. It gives you, please come up and get one. Don't be shy. We're not formal at park board meetings. Matter of fact, if you want a smaller one, I got a smaller one. I got big or small, whatever you want. So what we tried to do over this past year was to figure out how could we meet the community need of expanded space. And we all know that there's a parking problem if you've ever been up at Scott Park, especially if you live in the neighborhood, because you have to deal with that parking and the traffic that goes through there for a few months out of the year for sure. So we've tried to figure out not only do we have more expanded space for local youth Little League and softball and those kind of things, but how can we also capitalize on the economic development piece of this? Is how can we design a facility that would be available perhaps on the weekends that we could rent it to travel baseball? And because if you don't know anything about travel sports, it's the fastest growing area of any athletics in the world. People are really into travel sports, especially travel baseball and travel softball. I've also spent the last 6 or 8 months meeting with the travel baseball world to get their input on this facility and how we can make this an economic development driver in the city as well, where we can get, perhaps 100 teams to come in on a weekend into Franklin and quite honestly spend money, right? And play baseball. And stay at hotels perhaps and those kind of things. So it does have an economic development piece to it. As we were thinking about going through this process, is how could we capitalize on that? Other things we thought about before I get into the details of it was not everybody likes baseball and softball. Let's be honest. So what could we also put into this facility to have an overall impact in the community, even if you didn't like those sports? So you can't see that on the screen unless Victoria scrolls down a little bit. This also has soccer facilities in it too. So it also, if you have soccer fields, then we can also have lacrosse programs and those kind of things. The mayor and I know him and I both met with soccer and lacrosse people in this process as well. This facility also includes basketball, it includes pickleball, it includes, you don't see it on here, but we're going to internally put horseshoe pits into this facility. So it has a lot of stuff in there that appeals to a lot of people. It also has what will probably end up being the biggest playground in Franklin into this facility, and will also include a second splash pad into this facility as well. One of the cool things I like is I like that this is going to have a lot of trails in it. So the neighborhood, what I call the Scott Park neighborhood, will now have access to the Greenway Trail because they'll be able to go from their house through this park and then go to anywhere in the city that they now want to go. Because now we have trails on 31, but you could I could live in the house that's on this map, get on the trail and go to downtown to Court Street Cafe for dinner if I wanted to on my bike. So it has a lot of connectivity to it. It does end up with 7 youth baseball diamonds and 1 what we call a teen or adult diamond. That's the one I can see on the screen right now. Obviously, one looks bigger than the rest of them. 3 basketball courts, 12 pickleball courts that will be lit. Parking, I think the parking ends up right at about 800 or 900, even better. So it ends up about 900 parking spaces compared to about the 150 that we currently have. So night and day difference parking. Access, the main access to this, what I call the sports campus, will now be off Commerce Drive. Much easier to get to than winding through a neighborhood. If you're not from Franklin, you do not know where it's at. So that becomes another plus to this facility.
Talk about the roundabout.
Yes, this project will also include a roundabout on Commerce Drive. That will include the Greenway Trail connections there at the roundabout. You don't see the roundabout on here, but the roundabout is right about where the entrance is to Scott Park on this map, is where the roundabout will end up being. I'm sorry? Yes, the pond, thank you. Because the mayor and I are excited about this part, because him and I have a discussion about this quite often. The pond. So the reason we purchased the pond was obviously it was adjacent to the facility, and we didn't want it to leave it there and it become overgrown and not be used by the community. So we bought the pond, a part of this project, and there are going to be 3 fishing piers. They're going to be off of this pond that people can fish in here. Now, if you've ever drove by there, you might see a rogue fisherman out there every so often. They probably know the secret that nobody else knows, is there's probably huge fish in this thing. And so we're going to tap into that. So if you don't like sports at all, and you may be an avid fisherman, you're going to be able to fish in this pond now, which is going to be a really cool, that's something we currently don't have in the park system, which we were excited about. So that's another neat feature. Before we get into any technical questions you might have, the other thing I wanted to mention about this is still in the concept plan stage. We're still trying to fit all this stuff where we want it to go. We've already downsized one thing, for example. We thought we could do 2 large diamonds, and we can't because we can only use the available space that we have. So we've already shrunk something down.
You just answered my question.
Yeah, so there's a potential that we might have to shrink down a soccer field, but we think we may have a solution to that, and that's why you see 2 large soccer fields on this one, because there's a potential solution for it. So please don't think this is in concrete. It's pretty close, don't get me wrong, because we've been working on it for a year, but you may see some tweaks in it. We just tweaked it last week, if that helps you at all. We tweaked some of the park aspects of it that's kind of up on the upper left that you see on the screen now. If you have any technical questions, Charlie with Crossroad Engineers is here. I will tell you that we hit a home run hiring those guys to do this project because they've done a great job. They have great subcontractors that are working with them, and I'm very pleased with where we are with them so far. So,
Mayor, did you want to make a couple of statements about it?
No, not just, it's exciting. Okay, it is pretty exciting. It's one of the last pieces, that and the pool expansion that we'll talk about here later, or the pool overhaul. That's one of our last missing pieces for quality of life in Franklin. And there's a lot of excitement about it. We can get in the weeds. Jeff will talk about the financing part of it, and there's a lot of moving parts there. And it's been a time-consuming project, which I like that. It makes my days go faster. So anyway, I just know it's going to be great for our community. Looking forward to moving forward. And I've had a lot of feedback. And like Chip says, I think every athletic baseball people have reached out to us. And I've had people ask me, what is we've seen all kinds of numbers on what's the return for the city. And I think that anybody that wants to come to you, no pun intended, but pitch a sales to you why they're the best, they can make the numbers look any way they want. So I don't pay attention to all the economic numbers that I see that they say is going to come in, or Chip, because we know they can make it look any way they want. And Chip can probably talk about later down the road on what our plan is to manage it and hire a few more people and do the right things for the community. So looking forward to it. And we are working on we have a sponsor at the amphitheater. We are actively working with a group that would put their name on this as well. So,
Cool.
yeah, to help with some of the programming as you operate it. So, any questions for me?
Anybody have any questions for the mayor?
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Mayor.
Thanks, Mayor.
So as with any big project,
Nope.
there are,
let me talk about the pool next, because those are both the
oh,
same
you want to
thing.
talk about them
Yeah,
together?
Might as well. Might as well.
All right.
All right, that's one project. The second project that is going to be part of this process we're getting ready to talk about is the pool expansion and renovation. We can go back in history, back to 2012. The pool was built in 86, 87. The only time it's had a major renovation done to it was in 2012. Beth may have been on the park board in 2012, if I'm not mistaken. That was the last time, and that's when we added the current zero depth pool. We replaced the water slide and added a bunch of shade that you see and those kind of things. Nothing too major, because it was about, I think the total we spent on the pool may have been like $1.5 million back then to make it look like it does today. I'm a numbers person like Jeff Peters is over here, and what we did from that point, and you'll see it, I show you these financial numbers all the time. We tripled our revenue when we did that in 2012 at the facility. Now it's to the point where it worked back to what we were doing back then, because what it did is extended the life of the pool a little bit more. So we changed a lot of mechanical things in it and all those things. Well, here we are 15 years later now, and all those mechanical things are starting to break down. The pool has now become 40 years old. There's concrete issues. There's all kinds of issues with an aging pool, right? So it is what it is. We commissioned HWC Engineering, if you recall, back in January maybe, to do a quick study for us to say, hey, we wanted to look at 3 different things. We wanted to look at what would it take to extend the life of this pool maybe 15 more years. What would that look like? The second one would be, what would it look like if we did nothing? And then the third thing would be, what would it look like if we expanded the facility and renovated the facility to make it last maybe 30 more years? Because the reality is that if we were to go out and build a new aquatic facility somewhere else, let's say we wanted to go buy some land theoretically next to Scott Park and build a facility that was similar to this, today that probably is $40 million, okay, to do that. But if we can use the bones and the infrastructure and all the good things that are currently there, then that number goes way down because we can use a lot of those existing facilities that we have. That's what you see on this plan, is that was that option, was not only can we expand the facility for the future, we can go out and put some new features into it and the trends that are out there in aquatics today. And realistically, you know, can we get more people and more revenue? And the more revenue we get, the easier this thing is to pay for itself. That's really the goal, right? That's what you see on this plan here. There again, if you didn't pick one of those up, I have a hard copy of this if anybody wants one. I got big and small, just like before. And you can take a look at the details of the facility. A couple, did you get one, Liz? Huh? Okay, yeah. So we worked with HWC Engineering to come up with this concept plan. It has a couple of things that I asked for originally early on, was how do we make our facility unique compared to other places that are surround us? And that's why you see a wave pool into this, this plan. There's the closest wave pool to us, I believe, is in Avon now, but there's none on the south side of Indianapolis. So we would be the first wave pool in our area. It also has a bowl slide, or what I like to notoriously call a toilet bowl slide, because that may be the concept that you know, is that when you get into the slide, you swirl down to the bottom and come out. That is in this facility as well. It also includes a mini ninja course. This is very controversial to our staff, but we will not have diving boards in this facility, mainly because believe it or not, the most water in a facility, aquatic facility, if you have a diving well, is in the diving well. And the capacity of a diving well is 2. That's where hundreds of thousands of gallons of water is in a diving well, and 2 people can get in that water, and that's it. So economically, when you're thinking about the maintenance and operation of the facility, it makes no sense whatsoever to have them. Now, people like them, and that's where accidents happen at pools, but this facility does not have that. So we're going to shrink up the diving well and put a ninja course in instead. If you don't know what a ninja course is, it's on the back page of this plan here. So you can see, matter of fact, when you scroll up, you'll see some of these things I'm talking about. These are some of the, so you see them. You guys, do you need these? No. Here.
We've got them.
Okay. Oh, yeah, you see them on your thing. So it does have that, expands the deck area, expands the capacity of the pool. If you're at the current facility right now, there are about 95 or 100 parking spaces. This adds 112 more to this facility. To do that, we have to tear down the current maintenance building to expand the parking, and then that maintenance building will either go to Scott Park or we'll come up with some other alternative to do that. Ninja court. Oh, so the current zero depth pool will now become a top play area. So it's more what you would almost maybe call a splash pad for really small kids would be where that existing is. We would add a new zero depth pool to the current pool. So what I would call the south side of the pool would now become a zero depth pool with a play structure up there. And then it still has lap lanes to swim in. It still has open play water for people, because that was one of my concerns is I think a lot of pools miss that when they don't keep open play for just, I want to go and jump in the water. I think you have to keep that in the facility. It also includes several shade structures. It has cabanas that people can rent, because that's a big trend in aquatics right now. But yeah. I'm trying to introduce this to people that don't hear, because I know these guys have heard it 100 times from me. So they know it by heart already.
Well, and I think that one of the most important things that you should talk about is this is going to be a reoccurring theme at park board meetings. There are a number of opportunities for public comment on this project,
Yeah.
these projects.
So and does anybody have any questions for Kyle before I get into that? Kyle and Craig are both with HWC Engineering. I'm going to say the same thing about them. The reason we got them is because they're experts in this field. And I'm excited to work with Kyle because Kyle lives down the street. He lives here in Franklin. So I remember, Kyle will remember this, but him and I were in Avon 3 years ago standing next to a wave pool. And I asked him when I left before I left, I said, could you email me this wave pool superimposed on the land next to our pool? And within hours, I got it from him, and it fit. And that's where this all started, was trying to figure out if we could fit that in there. He'll answer any questions that you have. I don't know that you would, but you never know.
Anybody have questions for any of our consultants tonight?
I like the fact that this is going to be done in stages, and we're not going to lose the use of our pool.
Yeah, so I'm glad you mentioned that because that's an important aspect about all these. So the pool, we will not lose a pool season when we do this because if we go through all this process and you approve everything, they'll actually start on the wave pool and the water slide area before we're even closed next season. And then we'll close the first day of school next season, and then they'll have that whole fall, winter, and spring to have the new facility open. So we'll open this thing in May of '28. So we'll not lose a pool season. Same thing with Scott Park. We'll time this where the northern half, the newer half of the property, can be under construction while they're still playing baseball next season at the old half. And then once they're done July 1st, we're moving out of there and they're going to do that construction on that half too. So that facility will also open around April, hopefully, of '28. So.
Very exciting.
So let's talk about the exciting part while we're here. So Max with Barnes and Thornburg is here to talk about the bonding process, but I think Jeff is here because I think it's important that we not only, we've talked about these projects a lot, but we should also talk about how we're going to fund them. And that's why I got the two experts in the room here that can tell us what we can do, how we can do it, and what the procedure is to do it. So Jeff, you want to pop up? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So for the record, Jeff Peters with Peters Franklin, financial advisor to the city and the redevelopment commission, and we will be serving as your municipal advisor on going through the bonding process because obviously for this size of projects, you don't have that kind of cash on hand. Nobody does. So what we've looked at, and the first side of the page is all the numbers that walks you through the sources and uses. So working with the mayor and the mayor working with the redevelopment commission, he has looked at committing about $5 million in cash from the city's economic development income tax fund. The RDC has agreed to pay for park engineering at about $3.2 million, roundabout and a pedestrian exit crossing of about $1.8 million, pool engineering of about $1.2 million. So that leaves about $39.5 million that you would need to issue in bonds. And we have that split in two categories. One is when we price these bonds on the market, typically the market has a certain interest rate that it wants to see and have those bonds purchased at. And those coupon amounts are typically at this point about 5%, which is above the normal interest rate of today. So to sell these bonds for a 20-year period going forward, people will pay you about $3 million in additional funds today in order for you to pay them in 5% installments in interest in future amounts. So that gets you your funding of a little over $50 million, and down below it lays out the estimated cost for Scott Park at $35 million, the pool at $15 million, and then the other associated costs to get there. The backside of the page kind of walks you through a summary. The most important parts are, if this were to come to fruition as we believe, these would be the best estimates of today. However, we won't be going to the market for another few months, so you'll be asked to approve some things a little bit above and beyond that. But if we were to walk through that process today and go to the market, we would anticipate that the impact for the debt service would be just under 15 cents on the tax rate. Currently, the entire city tax rate is about 93 cents. But for the median homestead in Franklin of $231,500, that impact is about $149. However, today you have, as Chip was talking about, those existing outstanding park bonds, and they have an impact today of about $17. So the net increase going into '27 would be about $132 per median homestead. Down below, we also did a little comparison of if you didn't put in the cash and the redevelopment commission did not put those funds forward, the rate would be more like 19.3 cents, and that impact would be about $172 for median household. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions about the financing part or the estimates that we've given you today.
Anybody have any questions? You explained it very well, thank you.
Thank you. And Max will take you through the legal part.
Good afternoon, members of the Park Board. My name is Max Adams, bond counsel with the law firm of Barnes & Thornburg. Like I said, serving as bond counsel for this project, representing the Park Board in the city. Is it okay if I get into the resolution as well as some of the other steps?
Yes.
So I believe in your packet you have resolution number 2026-01. Let me walk through that resolution real quick and then kind of talk about some timeline things. So the resolution does a couple things. In the first paragraph, it mentions the kind of the expected amount of bonds we're planning on issuing. That's an amount not to exceed $39.5 million, just under that $40 million mark that Jeff was explaining will make up the difference in the total project amount from the other sources that Jeff mentioned. Exhibit A also mentioned in that first paragraph kind of as a list that was provided to us of the different kind of projects that'll go into Scott Park and the aquatic facility. We've worded it in a way that we can do other projects at these facilities or other park projects if need be, but kind of just wanted to obviously include sort of a list of what we're contemplating using the proceeds for. To get into the resolution itself, Section 1 is sort of a statutory finding. As you can imagine, the state law requires you to make certain findings when you're moving forward with these bond approvals. Section 2 talks about the project amount, like I mentioned, estimated amount of $50 million. I think it's $50 million and some change, like Jeff mentioned, but we just want to put an estimate in there. Section 3 talks about next steps. After this meeting, we'll publish a notice in the paper saying that, the Park Board is sort of taking this first step, kind of segues into the timeline discussion. At the next meeting, the August meeting, we'll have a public hearing to sort of start that process. There are, and I have copies of the timeline as well. A lot of it is kind of for the financial folks and for the lawyers, but happy to provide those if anyone wants to see a copy of that. But we'll do a series of public hearings between now and the September Park Board meeting, as well as in front of City Council. So that Section 3 sort of talks about, we'll publish a notice in the paper saying that we took this first step and that we'll be holding a public hearing at the next Park Board meeting. Sections 4 and 5 are just sort of boilerplate stuff that we like to include, so nothing really to mention there. If I can add on to my, discussion of the resolution, in terms of timeline, this is roughly a 3-month process between what the park board has to do and what city council has to do. So we'll be back, like I mentioned, in August. We'll also have public hearings for the September park board meeting as well. City council also plays a role. They'll be doing their own public hearings and their own approvals, simultaneous with the park board and everything. We're beginning now, what's today, the 16th, so beginning July 16th, we'll be able to finish this process as long as things go smoothly at the end of October. And then we'll be pricing the bonds, selling the bonds during November with a expected closing of early December. Other than that, I think that's all I had, but happy to answer any questions on the process about the resolution, anything you might have.
Anybody have any questions for Max? Okay, so what is in front of us right now is to approve and adopt this resolution that basically defines what is now known as the project. That includes the pool and Scott Park. So, and since we've all signed it, I think we could have a motion for approval of the declaratory resolution to approving the projects for Scott Park and the pool.
I make a resolution to approve the resolution. Does that
Second
make
that.
sense?
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, we've adopted this resolution, we've signed it. Do you take the original, Max, or do we give it to Andy, or?
Let's give it to Andy for now. We can talk
Okay.
about it. It differs by body, but thank you for your time.
Awesome, thank you. Very exciting. All right, y'all. And then, of course, just a reminder to everybody, we will be having a public hearing at our August meeting. Let's move on to our department reports.
A couple things on here. One is we're supposed to have a summer concert tomorrow, but it's going to thunderstorm, so we actually were able to reschedule this one with the band. So it's now going to be Friday, October 2nd. It will not be tomorrow night. So just so everybody knows. And then you can see there's a couple more events at the amphitheater coming up. Christmas in July, so you can come see Elf in 90-degree heat at the amphitheater. That's a
Dress
cool
in
one.
costume?
Yes. And the really cool one is Friday, August 14th is Maximum Queen, and they're from Florida, so that'd be a kind of exciting one too. So, and I did want to give you an update. So you know this, but I do a lot of this at the Board of Works meeting. But we've been doing a headstone repairs at the cemetery. I know you guys all know this, but maybe the public doesn't know. Just to give you an update on those, we have been through 5 phases so far. They have fixed 612 headstones so far, and the city has invested $258,000 in that for 612 headstones, so that's pretty darn good.
Yeah, it is.
And just to give you an update, I haven't talked to the mayor about this yet because I haven't had a chance, but we still have money to do about 1.5 more this year around. So we may be in the 700-800 range, maybe hopefully by the end of the year or so. But I'll give you a better update that when we get toward the end of the year too. So
Well, kudos to the maintenance staff, because
Yes.
we've got one of the prettiest cemeteries around.
I really do. We were just out there visiting Shug and Bernie Admire, so.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, does anybody have any questions or comments on the department reports, the concerts, anything like that, before we move into the Athens Rec Fund? Oh, here comes the mayor.
Yeah, I just want to talk a little bit more. I always want to talk, right?
Come on up.
I love it.
Yeah, so I did know that Chip had some money left in his budget to do more headstones this year. I was just looking at it before I come down here, so I knew that, Chip. I was going to call you tomorrow on that. But I'm really proud on how the city has been able to pay cash and not go in debt. And I know these gentlemen here know that cities our size, we have a $14 million debt, and that is pretty low for a city our size. And I'm really proud of the fact we've been able to do that. For an example, paying cash for the Active Adult Center, paying cash for all the roundabouts and the road work, and working with the redevelopment commission and with Jeff on how do we do this without bonding all this and going in debt. So we've had, I know since I've been mayor, we did a bond, I think it was $10 million for the amphitheater and our portion of the state project for US 31. We did that one. I know when Mayor McGinnis was here, we did a bond to do the gateway into the city and all that. But we're just about, halfway getting those paid off. So I think we've done a good job managing our funds. And there again, when I started talking with Jeff about, I don't want to bond $50 million. We got some cash we can use, Jeff. I've just always been one of those people that believe you live within your means and how you run your household. You pay for it or you look at the best option. And so that's why we come up with the redevelopment commission putting in about $6 million, and then we're going to pay the $11 million cash, $11 million going into these projects. And if you look at, Chip and I was talking, you got the high-end estimates of what these projects are going to be. So we're putting in about $11.2 million. The pool may come in 12, 13 million. We're almost paying cash for one of those projects. So that's the way I see it. They're together, but we're still doing what we need to do to stay within our means. And I believe we'll be in our means here. And also the estimates, again, I'll say that Jeff had given you is on the high end of where we're at. And there's one more component that I've looked at because of the impact it could have to the households. Okay, we have the school bond is getting ready to go off, which is about, I don't know exactly what that is, but I think it's about 30, 40 cents. And whenever they are looking at a referendum, they're looking to do half of that. So there's going to be a less impact on the households also because of the school bond rolling off. So I think that all works together, and as I've talked to the school about, how us working together on things. For an example, the one big boy diamond that we want to call it, if we have tournaments here, we can work with the school and using their stuff too. So we are good partners with our schools and the college and everybody here in the city. So I'm starting to ramble on, so I'll go sit down now. But I just wanted to get that out there on how I am proud of the fact that been mayor 10 years and we have that kind of debt. And that may sound like a lot of debt for a lot of people, but in municipalities, take a look at how it is in Carmel and Fishers and Noblesville, and I think you'd have a eye-opening experience. So anyway, thank you guys.
Thanks, Mayor. You can talk as long as you want. We're very proud of everything that has occurred in Franklin. So, we're very excited for these projects to come. Do you want to talk about the Athens Rec Fund? Chip?
I have those if you want to pass them down.
Guess I can't text him.
I asked you to call him. No, that ain't gonna work. Andy left his phone up here when he left, and I was asking her to text him, telling him to leave his phone. That ain't gonna work. This is, obviously, I give you this to you every month. Obviously, the backsides fill it out because that's last year, so I always like you to compare year to year if you'd like. I will tell you that this time last year, our revenue for July was about 80,000, and this year it's 107, and that's what it was at 2 o'clock when I ran this report. So our revenue is way up, and I will tell you that I look back because I keep very detailed notes about what the weather was last year at the pool compared to what it's getting ready to be. And last year we went through about 12 days, starting today, where it was rainy and cold and cloudy and all kinds of different, we didn't make hardly any revenue. And then I look at the revenue coming up because it's going to be 90s every day, and that makes me excited. So this number is going to grow pretty significantly. So.
Awesome.
Same thing with I'll just give it to you while we're talking about it. This is the pool one, so very specifically just to the pools, that one. And you could look at it if you have any questions, just yell at me. So.
I love the comparisons.
I do too.
So lost in those.
And then the last one under the appropriated budget, we're right on track where we should be, so I'm very pleased with that. So.
And that covers both the parks and the cemetery
It does, yep.
appropriations?
Yep.
That's exciting. Well, great. Does anybody have any questions on these pool numbers? This is what Tammy's going to be doing tonight, going through them. All right, well, Aquatic Center revenue report.
That's
Did
the
we
yellow one I
pass
just
that
gave you,
one?
yep.
Okay. Does anybody have any additional comments on the park board? All right, I think we're ready for a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
A second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Awesome. Thank you.